Well, let's talk about what I'm going to call timing. Timing. The timing? Yeah. Well, it's interesting that when you look at relationships, that some people in our culture start dating pretty young, high school. I'm told these days, even primary school, people are dating, and so forth. And sometimes you ask yourself, where is this going? So this is an important question. So sometimes I even want to say to many, many, many young people, timing is everything. There are times for certain things, and some of those things is not even time for them. So what is the principle here all about? Well, the timing principle suggests that the relationship is only pursued with marriage in mind. Why is this principle important? Well, can I tell you something? If you're going to date several girls or guys, you are actually placing your fingerprints on somebody else's spouse. Practically, that's what you're doing. So the timing here becomes important. The servant is not sent to explore. He's sent to bring back a bride. That's the timing. Means the guy was ready. Presumably, the girl would have been ready. So this principle is crucial if relationships are going to lead to where they need to be. Some of our young people get into relationships and they're just immature. I've even asked young people who want to get married, so what is love? What is the role of a husband? What is the role of a wife? What are you going to do in your marriage? They have no clue. But they want to get married. So this principle is my goodness, is crucial. Look at how the passage reads. When you look at some of the detail that we just looked at, well, it says Abraham was old, well advanced in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. Well, that's an important thing because Genesis 21 verse 5 will tell us that Abraham was 100 when Isaac was born. Okay, so that's important. So God gave this couple their son when they were old, but we also know from reading that Sarah, who dies the previous chapter 23, she had lived 127 years. Now, the age difference between Abraham and Sarah was 10. So we know if Sarah was 127 years when she died, how old was Isaac? 37. When Sarah died, so 3 years later is when this conversation takes place. Isaac is 40. So he is mature. By the way, don't look at me funny today and say, oh, I can't wait until I'm 40. That's not the principle. The principle is not the number. The principle is life situation. We just read here that Abraham was old, well advanced in age, right? So the young man was now positioned to take over. Genesis 25 verse 20, Isaac was 40 when he took Rebekah's wife. We know that. So Isaac had become the first and only son of the first wife, making it culturally and traditionally appropriate for him to receive the promise made to his father. So what was about to happen with Abraham being old and advanced, he was going towards the end of his season. What was going to happen? All he had, all he owned, was now going to be transferred to Isaac. He was not seeking employment. Oh my goodness. He was not trying to figure out life. Life was sorted. That's the timing. So he wasn't starting on the potential of a marital relationship, on how are you going to make it. Oh, I thought somebody would be jumping up and down here. Because here's what happens, the couple comes into my office and they say, we want to get married. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So what do you do? And the guy says, right now I'm just, looking for something to do. Oh, that's a problem right there for me. That's a problem. And I asked the lady, what do you do? She says, well, I'm trying to run my own little thing. And I'm like, okay, guy, where do you stay? Oh, I stay with my parents. Lady, where do you stay? Yeah, with my grandmother. So where are you going to live when you get married? Oh, we'll see. Timing! Wrong. Wrong timing. Because your Bible says a man will leave his father and mother. I know you didn't hear it. I'm going to say it again. A man will leave. And they're desperate for you to. They want you gone. So this is a very important principle on timing. What time is it? Is it the right situation for you to be pursuing this relationship? Now imagine if the servant says, I got time, let me just go see all the ladies around, And then she comes and says, oh yeah, I saw a few, beautiful, I don't know which one. Yeah, No. Abraham is advanced in age. He's about to transfer his estate to this young man that he was grooming, who is now ready to be an independent. That's when this relationship is pursued, and not at an experimental level, but with marriage in mind. With marriage in mind. So that's how we need to think about. Why is this important? Well, getting into several relationships prematurely where marriage is clearly not the intention can create a lot of baggage and unintended insatiable lusts, because the emotions you feed while you are pursuing several relationships don't go away because you're married. No. They don't. In fact, you're going to struggle dealing with all the past relationships. And those of us who are married will tell you, I don't have that challenge, but those of us who are married will tell you that one of the awkward things in life is meeting your ex with your wife. Awkward. Awkward. You meet someone, how do you know each other? We are friends with benefits. Awkward. Now, let me say it from a guy's perspective, especially if the ex now looks, okay, do I need to finish it? She outshines the current, like I'm trying to illustrate there. It's a problem. There's a problem. And some exes show up at the wedding to show the guy, look what you're going to miss. Haven't you seen that in your movies? They will show up on the day and like, you got married that one. Loser. Look. Timing. Timing is, I know these things happen, but I wish they didn't. That we would understand this principle of timing, because God didn't line up options for Adam. One, God didn't line up Rebecca's. It was just one. As we read in the story, she switched on and shows up. So So that's why when you read all of this, we need to start, I'll recommend this book that I found very useful, Every Man's Battle or Every Young Man's Battle, which will help with curbing some of these emotions that men and even ladies struggle with when we go into multiple relationships. And this book really illustrates that there are many of those relationships that struggle thereafter. And many women will come for counseling and say to me, I just see how when he's driving, how many times he's just watching and looking at all these women and so forth. Yeah, that happens. That's why 2 Timothy 2:22 says to you, flee also your youthful lusts. Pursue righteousness, faith, love, peace, and those who call on the name of the Lord out of a pure heart. That's an important scripture. And one day when you have a moment, go through all these pointers. Pursue righteousness. What is that? Pursue faith. What is that? Pursue love. What is that? Pursue peace with those who call on the name of the Lord out of a pure heart. This is the solution on this whole timing thing. Why? Some emotions will be inappropriate for us to pursue given where we stand. So let me speak to you today about this great principle of timing, and I hope it sits well with you today. So ask yourself, am I in the right season? Am I in the right season? And ask yourself, with the person that I might even be thinking about, is it to explore or is it really about marriage? Is that the ultimate goal? You know what I discovered? When you go into a relationship to look for things that don't work, you will find them. Because there are plenty. Why? You don't work yourself. They're just there. So marriage is really what should be the game changer. Well, the second principle is about compatibility. Oh my goodness, compatibility? Compatibility is that friendship factor. That friendship factor. It's also about the total way of life, how you just gel in that total way of life. Well, let me define it for you. The compatibility principle suggests that you pursue a marital relationship with someone who shares your belief system. Now, this is not religious. Belief system, or let me define belief system for you. So it's a principle that you pursue a marital relationship with someone who shares your belief system. What is a belief system? Belief system refers to a set of principles that determine your total way of life. Let me show you why this is important. I was in Durban a couple of weeks ago, and those of us from Johannesburg, we go to the East Coast when we want to enjoy, a bit of a break. So I went to Durban, but I actually went for work. And on one of the few moments that I was free, I ran away from everybody. I went to the beach, and I was enjoying the beach. Usually I'm very inspired when I just sit there, kind of look into the blank sea, as it were, just some creative juices kick in. And I was just in that mode, writing or taking notes on my phone. Convenient to have a smartphone like that, so it's kind of, meditating, processing, thinking, about, I don't know what, but I was there busy. And then I see this lady in a full dress, covered, headscarf, everything, taking a walk on the beach. And it was a hot day, And so I became curious. So she walked very close to where I was. And I thought, well, let me engage her. And I said, ma'am, aren't you hot in that? Because at the beach, people are pretty much, very, very open. And aren't you hot? She said, well, my culture does not allow another man to look at me. I almost want to say, but I'm looking at you. But what she actually meant is my belief system does not allow me to strip in front of anybody else except my husband, you know. And I had several questions that I had at the back of my mind to ask then. Is there any form of freedom, you know? And from where she was walking, can you even get closer and get into the water? She said, just my feet. A whole belief system controlled even the way, and I could tell she was on holiday by herself, but she couldn't. That is the crux of where this belief system is important. Now, may I suggest that our belief system is in God. That's where we derive our total way of life. So that means if somebody is not coming out of that same belief system, well, you're going to have serious challenges. Because your frames of references are going to be completely at disparity. Now, I know when I've spoken to many young people and I said to them, you know, what would you like in a guy? I don't know what it is about this, but, you know, I did this exercise once with a group of young ladies. What do you look for in a guy? He must drive a good car. That's already reflecting a belief system. Just that statement. He must drive a good car. That's already a belief system. Well, some guys will drive a good car. When you get married, you won't drive that good car. It's his. Mm-hmm. He will buy you a Picanto. He will drive a Maserati or whatever, and you will drive a Picanto, right? And you want to go out, you will say, we go in your car. Because you will not drive in his car. I've seen that. Because there's a belief system. Look at this passage. So Abraham is conscious of the importance of that belief system. That's why he says, it says that the Lord had blessed him in all things. What is the orientation? His orientation is towards his relationship with God. That's his frame of reference. And then look at how he situates this whole relationship. He says to his oldest servant, who is ruled over his whole house. So this is the most trusted servant that he brings into the picture. And by the way, can I just take an aside there? When you get people to help you with your marriage, that's almost what you need to have in mind. Who is the most trusted people I can work with towards this? Sometimes you get a person in some cultures, because you've got to work with an auntie. The auntie's own relationship is almost non-existent, but somehow you think they are going to help you with your relationship. Of course not. Somebody trusted. Please, he says, put your hand under my thigh. That's how they would, give an oath in those culture. It could even have more intimate suggestion in terms of what you did there. And he says, I'll make you swear not is by the Lord, which is not what was done in that culture. You would swear to whatever. And he says, you swear to the Lord. So he even ups the game and says, swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell. What is he saying? As a patriarch, Abraham is taking responsibility for his son's marriage by dismissing the Canaanites, who represented people who did not serve the true God and would therefore be incompatible for marriage purposes. Why? This man was now serving the true God. That was now a total way of life. The Canaanites were not serving the true God. They're their own total way of life. Here's what many young ladies says to me. they'll find a guy who's not walking with the Lord, but he ticks those boxes: car, house, work, and whatever. The only thing is, he's not yet a Christian, but I'm praying for him. When did you become a fourth member of the Trinity? Because only the Spirit of God converts a person. You can't. But you see, it's because when you don't think about the belief system, your total way of life, that is actually incompatible with his total way of life, you become desperate and just get into a relationship. Let me tell you a true story. We visited a couple, my wife and I, once in the northern suburbs, very, very wealthy people. And the lady was sitting in front of a man-size television. In other words, you saw a real-size images. That's how big this telly was. It was across a whole wall. And I remember sitting, I'd never seen a television that big. And I remember sitting there and thinking, wow, you must be so happy. And she says, no, I'm not. He's never here. He's never here. She actually got those top boxes, the car, the house, she got that, except him. Why? Belief system. Belief system. So I asked him, where is he? Messing around. She wouldn't even hide it. Messing around. Why are you staying? I don't know if I can get this anywhere else. So she was staying for the sake of the TV. Some people say for the sake of the dog. She was staying for the sake of the big TV. She said, I don't know if I can get this anywhere else. So that's why the instruction in verse 4 says, go to my country, to my family, and take my wife from my son. Why? These are the people whose belief system, whose worldview, their ideals would represent the best fit. The best fit. And even later on, when Laban speaks, you see he has that God orientation. He has that God orientation. That is what he was looking for. He was looking for that. The best fit. That's what compatibility is all about. Your total way of life, his total way of life must be the same. Those worlds must actually collide. So that's why 2 Corinthians 6, 14 and 15 says, do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship is righteousness with lawlessness? And what communion is light with darkness? And what accord is Christ with Belial? Or what part has a believer with unbeliever? And what agreement has the temple of God without idols? For you are the temple of the living God. That's how you need to define yourself. If God dwells in you, you need to find somebody in whom God dwells equally. That's where you're going to draw compatibility from. That is what this principle of compatibility is all about. Well, here's something you can reflect on. So I know it has become fashionable for people to move in together, to try and find common ground. Now, what you notice, it has led most young people discovering that even that is a breach to their biblical culture. So even starting like this is already taking you out of your way of life. And what do most couples discover who do this is it doesn't work. Why? You got into this relationship trying to see if it would work. And what do you discover? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Can I tell you something? What I discovered about relationships is nobody's perfect. I know it's hard. It's humbling, right? Nobody's perfect, including you. Because when we hear that, we think it's the other person, right? Hey, you are a nightmare to live with. But somehow you think there is something wrong with the other person. No, no, you are rough to live with. Sometimes you can't even live with yourself, you know. You say, I don't know how I got myself into this mess. Yeah, because that's you. That's you. So we're going to need the grace to understand that compatibility is more about our total ways of lives. If those merge somewhere, then we are well on our way towards something greater. I hope that's helpful.